Alright, so welcome back to a second tutorial on self-expanding factories. I've done quite a few things in the background and I'm gonna try to go through them in the most understandable way that I can. And maybe start with the changes that I did to the things I made last time. The first thing is the most obvious changes. I increased the cell size from 3 by 3 to 4 by 4 chunks. So you can see now it's 4 by 4. The ring building mechanism is mostly the same. There's a few things that I'm going to cover in a bit. The most obvious one is I've changed the multiplier here from 96 to 128 to cope with the bigger cells. And yeah, there's a few more things that I haven't extensively tested, and I'm gonna do this live and hope that they still work. So the second obvious change that I've made is I've uncoupled the RoboPort network right from the start. So if I look at those, in a new cell, I'm gonna have these 4 in the middle, which the construction range covers exactly those 4 chunks. And I'm gonna have a global one on the outside, which is there to build new rings. I'm still gonna have to do this globally, but all the things inside the cell, or most of them hopefully, will be handled like from inside. This greatly simplifies the handling the individual cells, because in the last version I had to uncouple the RoboPort network, build new RoboPorts, then do the ore finding analysis thing, and then reconnect the whole thing, because that's just, I think I took like 10 different blueprints in the first book, and now I have 5 up to now. That just makes things a lot simpler. Okay, the second thing I have is this weird train spike here. Or let's look at this maybe in the new cells. The reason for this is, I have a builder train that comes in, delivers materials and the blueprint book, and the materials have to be inside this inner network. And I could obviously build a station here and just belt them in, but then the thing I want to do in this version is I want to return the leftover materials to the train, because that just makes things a lot nicer in comparison to deconstructing the chests and having it all fly back home by robots, which I did in the last version, which was just the real dumb brute force approach. So I want to be a bit more, not too elegant, I guess. I'm still going to be a bit brute force, but I'm going to try and be a bit less brute force this time. Alright, so I have these few combinators here, which I'm going to go through in a second. But let's just go through them now. I'm gonna send the train, say, here. And I'm gonna slow down the game, actually. Not sure, this might be annoying, but it might be nice to see what's going on. And now you come in. Okay, I'm gonna just let it run once, maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna turn back up the speed. That's just gonna be annoying like this. So you can see, I'm counting. So I'm hovering over the RoboPort to see what signals I'm getting. I'm seeing all the things in the network, and I'm seeing the robot count. And the first thing I'm waiting for is that the total number of construction robots, which is T, reaches 500. And once this reaches 500, which will be in a second, I'm building all these miners, and of course I forgot to turn off my personal robots, which is a bit annoying, but shouldn't be too bad in this case. Okay, now, things are going a bit fast to explain along, but I'm gonna go through it slowly and explain. Now you see it found ores and it's connecting all these belts. That's really the main downside of these big cells, is that I'm going to have lots and lots of belts for maybe not that many ores. I mean, I can adjust how many miners I think are worth building this. It's currently set to 150, and this is probably a lot more now. I can see, that's 300. So half of those would already be considered worth building this huge, I mean, this is like 3,000 belts and stuff. So that's quite a lot, yeah, 2.8 thousand belts, 750 under or 25 underground belts. So I don't want to waste this everywhere for just like tiny, tiny ore patches. And I'm probably gonna have to figure out the right balance there. The more elegant way would be to like cut this down into more parts, maybe analyze the upper left quarter first and then place belts there, and then analyze the like the top left, the top right corner. But yeah, I'll see. That would probably be a lot more combinator work. But I might try and refine this a little bit more. But yeah, we'll maybe just turn up the speed a little bit to get this running. And the train should load back up at some point. Yeah, there we go. So it's loaded all the leftover materials back onto the train. And it's returning home where it gets filled up again. And then it's waiting because I haven't enabled this combinator, which actually properly starts the whole thing. I just wanted to control where it went first, so I did it the rough way. So now it's here, it's finding ores, building stuff, waiting for a little bit, building more stuff. Yeah, this is gonna take a bit. Okay, then it's going back. I just wanted to go to one empty cell so I can actually show that it's not just always building the same things, but it's actually doing something different when there's no ores in there. I think the next, I mean, the train decides where it goes, so it just picks the shortest path. I think this will be next, I hope. Might be one of those, then I'm gonna skip forward. Ah, it's this one, which also has ores. Now that's annoying. Actually, I'm not sure if this is gonna be considered worth it. No, it's not. I can't even see how much that was. But yeah, so this now has the name no mining, and there's no miners on there. So it's deconstructed the few miners that it built. Now it's checking here. It says no mining, and it should leave shortly. There we go. And it's going home, and so on. And yeah, I think I'm gonna pause this process here because I want to show what happens once it has gone through. But I think I'll go back a little bit and explain how the whole ore finding mechanism works first. Okay, so I jumped back in time a little bit and I'm back here where it didn't start. And I'm gonna go down all the way here to my blueprint prototypes, I guess. So those are all the different blueprints that I'm using right now. This is the new cell. The black concrete is just because I wanted to have some nice background that didn't blueprint. I can't, like if I copy this, it's not going to copy the background different to normal concrete. So this is the new cell. I'm going to go through the combinators in a little bit, but I'm going to just show the basic logic that's going on. So when the train comes in, it starts unloading things, and the construction bots get fed into this local network. Once there's 500 in there, it places all these miners, or tries to at least. Once these miners have been placed, once the train has finished unloading, which is characterized by the belts in the logistic network being more than 3,000, or larger or equal 3,000, then it checks how many miners have actually been placed, so how many are left in the chest. And if more than 150 miners have been placed, it deconstructs the filter inserters here and the red belt here. So this is gonna get rid of like all the junk that took care of unloading. And then it's gonna build this, which is the glorious mess that is my attempt to deal with mixed mining. Which is a bit less brute force than the last version, I think. I mean, the last version was basically like one belt running around in circles and filter inserters picking up stuff. Not quite that bad, but almost that bad. This case, I'm using a few like filtered splitters and stuff to try and increase the throughput, but I haven't extensively tested this, and I'm not sure if I might refine it a little bit more. But yeah, so this gets placed once 150 miners at least have been placed. If less than 150 miners get placed, for now, I'm just putting this like dummy cell here. The way I did this in the first version was I had another train come into these, and depending on like how power level was, it was either building a power cell or a production cell. I might try to include this all in one train this time, which would probably mean that I'd need, and now that I think about it, I could just carry, so if I had some accumulator somewhere in my base, so in the brain, I guess, if I just put an accumulator there and hooked it up to the global network, it's gonna output an A equal to the charge level in percent. So I could actually just have a combinator here that's checking the charge level from the global network here, and if the charge level is low, it would build a power cell, or if the charge level is high, it would build a production cell, for example. I haven't quite figured this out yet. Okay, so how does this work in particular? As I said, the first thing it waits for is to have 500 construction bots in the network. So this guy triggers if t is equal to 500. Did I say 5,000? 500. It outputs a construction bot equal to 1, and this guy is looped back on itself and it just stores it. So it's not strictly necessary in this case, but I just like to do this because I'm using lots of different require or like prerequisites for increasing the construction bot number. And I don't, like, if things change, I don't want them to go back, and it's going to lead to all kinds of messes if I don't take care of my okay, maybe I should probably take a step back and explain what I'm doing here. I'm sorry. So this is going to have a blueprint book in it, the deployer. And if it gets sent a construction robot equal to 1, it's going to build the first one, and so on. If it gets a construction robot equal to 2, it gets the second one, and so on. So this is the way to cycle through these blueprints. And you can see the first one it's going to build is the mining, all the miners. And yeah, then I'm going to come to that. Okay, so what I want to do is have some criterion here that increases the number of construction bots being output to this network here every time I want to cycle to the next blueprint. Or in fact, output 2 construction bots, but yeah, I'm going to come to that in a bit. So this, as I said, those two together output a construction bot equal to 1 once there's 500 bots in this network. Then the miners get placed, and then I'm waiting for 2 things to happen, namely for bots to be idle. This means the total number of construction bots is equal to the inactive number of construction bots, or the available number, and this just lets everything through. And I'm inputting the network count here, so everything that's in these chests gets basically filtered through this combinator and gets let through only if all the construction bots are inactive. Then so once this is true, the complete count of items in this network gets sent onto this guy, and this one checks if there's more than or equal 3,000 belts, which means the train has completely unloaded. The reason for this is probably not strictly necessary like this, but I like to do this because otherwise you may have a few ticks where the bots are idle, but you're not actually done because they're like planning or thinking or whatever. So this just makes sure like a bit of time passes between the minor blueprint being placed and the next things going on. And I want to, like, the thing I want to achieve here is all the miners should be placed before I decide how many were used. Otherwise, if I decide too quickly, they may have just built like 100 miners, but they still have 300 to build, and I'm not going to know that then. So I want to, once I've placed the miner blueprint in this cell, I want to have enough time pass and then check that the bots are idle, and then I'm going to be sure that all the miners have been placed. Okay, hope that makes sense. Okay, so once both these things are true, the network count gets sent onto this combinator, which then always will output a construction bot equal to 1, because there's always going to be at least one mining drill left in the network. Again, this construction bot equal to 1 will be stored here. And those guys here are outputting another construction robot equal to 1 if there's more than 700 left. So that means I have 850 in the train. So if there's more than 700 left, that means less than 150 were placed. So this whole thing basically checks so it increases the number of bots, or if the blueprint number that I'm cycling through by 1 if more than 150 miners have been placed, or by 2 if less than 150 miners have been placed. And maybe I'll go through those guys real quick. What they do is they see, okay, the current construction bot signal is larger or equal to 2, and then they're going to output a 1 which gets multiplied by 2, so they're going to jump straight from 2 to 4 or straight from 3 to 5. And if I look at this book here, this is all a bit convoluted, but again, I'm going to upload a save file and the blueprint book, and you can just play around with this a little bit, and it's not too complicated to understand it actually. So, yeah, the train comes in. The construction bot is equal to 0 in the beginning, so there's nothing being built. Then 500 bots are in the network, then this first one gets built. Then it checks for like how many miners there are, and either increases by 1 or by 2, which means in any way all the filter inserters and the belts will get deconstructed. And if less than 150 miners have been placed, also miners will be deconstructed. This just makes sure that I'm not going to have some residual miners standing around somewhere and like blocking the way for other blueprints. And then, as I said, it jumps right from 2 to 4 or from 3 to 5, which means it either builds the mining blueprint or it builds the non-mining blueprint. As I said, that's definitely not a final thing. I'm not just going to leave this empty, but yeah, this is a thing for a later episode, I think. Okay, maybe with that in mind, I'm going to let this run once again. I think there's an old book in this. I'm gonna destroy this real quick. The way I'm handling, like taking care of blueprints and not getting messed up with all the different versions is I have this book here, which I can never ever delete. Or actually wouldn't be too bad, but would be annoying. And every time I make a change, I destroy the book that's in the train and I put in a new one here. And I make the change immediately to the one in my blueprint storage. And this is the new cell blueprint, which I'm going to have to copy and put into the ring building mechanism thing. Okay, so I forgot something. I want to recycle this blueprint here, or the blueprint book. I'm using a filter inserter to put it into the deployer, which means after the whole thing gets done here, the filter inserter will be deconstructed. So in this case, I don't have to worry about, like cycling it back out, because the thing that happens is once you put it back into the train, it's going to be put right into the blueprint deployer again, and I don't want that to happen. But in this case, other than in the old Josef version, I'm not going to have to worry because this will be gone by then. And what does this do? This checks if the construction robot is larger than 4, and it's gonna output a 1. And this checks that everything in the logistic network, or in these chests here, is equal to 0. So this waits until everything else has been loaded up, and then it's gonna output another check mark. And this waits for those 2 check marks to recycle the blueprint into the train. So this waits for everything to be loaded up again, and this one waits for like the actual last blueprint to be placed. Yeah, I think that's about it. What are those guys doing? Yeah, forgot about those. What this is doing is it sees once the construction robots is larger than 4, it's gonna output the number of construction bots, so either 4 or 5 in this case, and it's gonna multiply it by -1 and send it back. This is mainly for UPS reasons, because if I'm placing a blueprint that has how many entities? Like 3,000 belts. Like there's probably like 5,000 entities being placed. And what this does is it places them or tries placing them for every tick, and that's gonna massively slow down the game. If you like place this massive blueprint over itself for like 60 times a second, it really slows down the game. So what this does is basically it just ends the whole thing once it gives it 1 tick to deploy the blueprint, or 2 actually, because it has to run through these 2 combinators, and then it just cancels the whole thing. It doesn't cancel it back to this thing here, because that would probably mess up some other things, but it then sends it straight to the deployer. It's a bit hard to see here, but it's going right to the deployer. So the deployer gets a +4 or 5 from the green signal and a -4 or 5 from the red signal, and it's just gonna stop doing anything. All right. Yeah, I think I'll give this a shot here. Just now I should have probably paused it. Okay, no conditions for you. It's not gonna leave again, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna show this in the top test. Okay, you can see if you follow I'm gonna zoom out a bit. If you follow the circuit signals on the right, you can see once the T has counted up to 500, meaning all the bots are in the roboports, it should place the mining blueprint. And then once 3,000 belts are unloaded, I forgot to turn off my bots. Once 3,000 belts are unloaded, it's gonna place, in this case, belts, because there's enough of that stuff, and it's gonna deconstruct all that junk here. Actually, I forgot to deconstruct this splitter and the underground. I have to add this to the list. But yeah, that's how it works. And what's going on? Yeah, I forgot about something. Those are obviously the inserters that I'm building to re-upload the train or reload the train. They can't just start working right away. So they also check for idle bots. Every one of them just only activates if bots are idle, which means everything here has been built. So maybe let's speed this up a little bit. Yeah, it's a lot of belts to be built. I'm thinking about maybe increasing the number of bots here. Yeah, one thing I'm not doing, actually, I'm just realizing now, is taking out the bots, because I'm basically wasting 500 construction bots per cell as it is now, which is probably not a good idea. So I want to have some way to recycle these bots and just put them back into the train after I'm done. So yeah, that's probably something I should add. I forgot about that. But it shouldn't be too hard. Just like build a belt backwards, put some normal inserters here, just load it back in. That should be very doable. One thing maybe on the side, if I look at the global network here, it had this little square gap in the middle. I can't, like for the new cell design, I can't build anything in there, because everything that's new cells has to like be built from the outside, which is a bit annoying in the design, but it's not too bad actually. Okay, I think they're almost done, as it seems. 496, yeah, so now there's 500 construction bots idle, trains being loaded up, blueprints get recycled, or blueprint book gets recycled, and the train is ready to leave, which it doesn't, because it doesn't have the thing. But yeah, so that's how I'm handling individual cells. I hope that wasn't too confusing now. It might have been, but I'm doing my best to explain my weird convoluted combinator designs here. I think what I'm going to do now is get back to the ring building mechanism and explain the few changes that I've made there. Maybe have a look at my little checklist to see if I forgot anything important. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm gonna just jump back up there and explain the rest, and then maybe it's time for time for testing this together with the ring expansion, which I haven't done, and there's lots of potential for things to go wrong there. So yeah, I'll see. Okay, I'm back in the other testing grounds, I should say, probably. Oh wait. Okay, now I'm back in the other testing grounds. I didn't load the game, so I had my holy new blueprint, new cell blueprint messed up down there, so I had to load the game to make sure that this is as pristine as it was before I started messing around here. Okay, yeah, if you don't know what this is, I'm not gonna go through it again. It's in the first tutorial that I did. It's the thing that actually builds the ring here. This needs to go. I've added a few little things that I'm gonna go through real quick. The first one is this combinator here, which, so if you remember last time I used the dot signals that indicate the number of finished cells by this little combinator here to determine when the next ring was going to get built. And of course I don't want to just blindly build more and more rings. I want to actually use them before the next ring gets built. So what I did now, if I go back here, I let this combinator output a signal 1 equal to 1, like signal 1 with value 1, and this one down here a signal 2 equal to 1. Yeah, in factorial you can have 2 equal to 1 without any problems whatsoever. And because I'm a lazy person, I'm still using the dot signal here. That's a bit messy to do. I should probably use something else here. But instead of like sending in the dot signal coming from here, I'm just using this to add up the 1s and 2s and output it as a dot signal. So this means once I have, in this case, 9 cells that are either dedicated to mining or to not mining, it's gonna know the current ring is finished and start the new one. So that's basically only a minor change to this thing. The bigger or more important change that I did was these guys up here. And so the reason, or there's one problem with my whole system as I did it, or as I explained it last time. I have a train that goes through all these guys and determines what to do with them. At the same time, I have a ring building mechanism that constantly prints blueprints the current ring, like constantly goes around and builds these cells basically, which for one is bad for UPS, and it's going to destroy any progress that the train makes. So that's bad. So what I want to do is, when I build a new ring, I'm only going to build it for, say, a few seconds. And then I'm going to know, okay, the current ring is built, stop building, and let the train go. And the way I'm doing this is I'm using this inserter. If you remember, so there's a green wire here going around in circles every time a new ring gets built. And this inserter actually sends a pulse here and increases the ring number by 1. And now I'm using this other inserter, which should be a few ticks later. And I'm using this also set to pulse. And this signal is going up here and into this guy. And those two are looped together. You can maybe see it a bit better if it's like this. Well, not really. So they're connected input to output and input to output. And this is just storing it until it's this particular number, which I'm gonna explain in a little bit. So that's basically 300 ticks. And this just adds 1. So what this does is, I'm gonna just show it instead of just waffling. What this does is it counts up to this 310 and then it just resets to 0. I'm in pause mode, so what I can do is just input a constant combinator, a wire equal to 1 signal for 1 tick. So now it's here, and then get rid of this. Okay, so now it got this 1 tick green wire input that it wanted, and it's outputting that to this in the next tick. This is gonna output 1 more and sending it back to this. So this is basically, this just counts up every other tick. So this is gonna use 600 ticks to count to 300, or it's actually going to use 620 ticks to count to 310. And let's just set this to something low to show that it works. I'm right at 10 now, that's annoying. So let's use like 13. And let's see the output of this guy. 10, 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, 0. And it's back to 0 and waiting for the next round. Okay, so I set this to 310, particularly because I want to have 600 ticks for the thing to build, and I want to wait for these 20 ticks that are like 10 of these signals that correspond to 20 ticks, because I want to have this all run. I don't wanna start building the next ring, but still have the offsets that are being calculated here from the old ring. That would mean that some cells would get overwritten. So I'm just waiting for a few ticks, and then I have 600 ticks where this is sending a construction robot equal to 1. And this means that this blueprint gets built for 600 ticks, and then it stops. And yeah, the other small thing that I added here was just like a deconstruction planner for trees and stuff. And I'm just sending this along with the same settings. Might actually do this for one more chunk now that I think about it. It should be 160 then. Yeah, so this just gets rid of gunk. All right. I think that should mean we can fire this up. This is correct. This is correct. I haven't tested this, so this might go horribly wrong, but I'm ready for it. Turn off my construction bots. Well, maybe something obvious I should mention. All the building materials are just like coming in by cheat if you want. I'm not producing anything, as you might see. So yeah, if you're annoyed by that, I'm okay with it. Alright, I think I'm gonna save maybe. Oops. I have this annoying small enter bar. So, okay. And this theoretically should, the train should start going around, finding these ores, and then the next ring should get built. I think what I'm gonna do is maybe fast forward and yeah, just do a little time lapse of what the thing does now. If it gets stuck, I might cut back in. Otherwise, I might just, yeah, time lapse the rest. In this case, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something from my very messy way of approaching this. If I'm being too confusing, just let me know. I'm trying my best, but I'm a bit all over the place. I know that, and yeah, just give me some honest feedback if you're annoyed or if you're happy with what I'm doing. All right, thanks for watching, and maybe until next time.